Fala, gurizada, tudo belezinha? Covara na área. Simbora então, gurizada, fazer uma react aqui, cara, numa entrevista que o Bill Van Zyll deu pro Coelho do Japão, lá na BGS, cara. Pra quem não sabe, tá rolando a BGS. E digamos assim, o chefe da Nintendo, Latam, Latinoamérica aqui, que é o Bill Van Zyll, né? Mais conhecido carinhosamente por mim como Bill Van Zyll. Deu uma entrevista pro Coelho, recente aí. Eu tenho duas expectativas, tá? Eu não assisti ainda. Eu tenho duas expectativas, espero que o Coelho faça excelentes perguntas, assim como ele fez na primeira entrevista, há tempos atrás aí, pro Bill Van Zyll, tempos atrás não, na última BGS, se eu não me engano, e que o Bill Van Zyll dessa vez não dê migué, que a outra entrevista ele deu uns miguezinhos em relação aí, principalmente à localização dos jogos da Nintendo aqui no Brasil. Sem mais delonga, simbora, eu só vou fazer aqui um sinalzinho pra mim saber a hora pra liberar o vídeo aí pra vocês, tá? Pra mim poder sincronizar aqui, 1, 2, 3 e foi!
Antes da gente começar, amigos, quem está patrocinando o vídeo de hoje é a loja Trilogy Games, que tem Nintendo, PlayStation e Xbox. Pode entrar lá, que a Trilogy tem dentre os preços mais baixos do Brasil. É uma loja super de
confiança, jabá do Coelho,
entrega rápida e um ótimo atendimento. A Trilogy é conhecida por ter uma boa presença nas redes sociais e uma ótima comunicação com os fãs. Então vocês podem
Quem não conhece Coelho, cara, que eu duvido muito, vamos lá na moral, deixa um like lá no vídeo lá pra ele lá, que pô, o Coelho é um dos grandes cabeças em relação aí a fazer esse intermédio entre nós e a Nintendo aí, justamente pelo alcance dele e tudo mais aí. Então vamos lá. Quem não conhece, né, fica convidado, e garanto que a galera que já conhece, já assistiu ele lá e só tá aí pra ver minha reação aí em relação a essa entrevista aí, cara.
Trilogy Games também tem uma série de acessórios, controles e tudo que você precisar pra sua plataforma favorita.
Eu só não vou passar esse jabá aí, cara, porque por conta de sincronia e coisa tudo, acredito que possa dar ruim nos cortes. Então, acabou. Eita, tá estourado o som, credo.
O cabeça da Nintendo na América Latina.
Vou baixar aqui pra mim.
And nice guy. I like to say that you are the boss and nice guy of Nintendo Latin America.
Well, thank you, but right now you're my boss because you're asking all the tough questions.
I will. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Já chegou, já sentindo. O senhor está fazendo perguntas difíceis.
This conversation with this community. Last time and all the previous times that Nintendo was open to us, it was really good for us. So people ask me to ask questions to you.
It's going to get even tougher now.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
So first thing I want to ask, is Nintendo happy with the sales in Brazil? How is it doing? Like, you've been here already since 2020.
Boa pergunta.
It's been enough time, right? I mean, to grasp the market.
Yeah. So the way I would frame it is we started with a really good base, right, of Nintendistas, fans, and we saw that as a great foundation that we could build on. And we also, it inspired me personally, right? We wanted to do a better job of bringing content to the fans that already existed. But through just ongoing better execution, bringing more options, more products, more content to consumers, starting to bring more content in Brazilian Portuguese to the consumers, we've seen steady growth.
Estamos esperando aí.
And I'm happy to share that although for Switch it's year 7, we're still seeing strong growth throughout Latin America. Brazil's no exception. As a matter of fact, Brazil is where we're having the strongest growth of all of Latin America. So we're catching up. So to answer your question, extremely happy. We also recognize that we got a long ways to go. There's a lot still to do here in Brazil. But we're very happy with the progress, and we're really happy and appreciative of the reactions and the response of the fans.
Yeah, we can see the steady progress, and we can see that you are closing new partnerships here in Brazil. That makes it easy for us to buy the games. We just want to buy the games. So also about that, about buying the games, one thing that people really complain about is the pricing. Of course, new games, we understand. But games that are older, 7-year-old games already, is there any plans, or do you guys...
Cadê o Nintendo Selections?
Can you guys work with that here in Latin America to lower the price of the games? Even if it was digital. You know, Nintendo used to have the Nintendo Selects. I think it would make it a lot easier for us to enjoy
Coelho manda muito bem, cara.
A wider variety of games.
Understood. So, what I would say is we're continuously looking at how we can bring our products, hardware, software, accessories into the markets in the most affordable way possible to our consumers. We realize that there's limited amount of income, disposable income, and consumers have tough choices to make. So it really is in our benefit to have the products there as affordable as possible. I think we've made some progress. You see the pricing that we have on digital, you see the pricing that we've managed to get to with our physical software. So we're always looking at this and seeing how we can continue to improve. It's still a lot of money, I understand that. To your question about the selects or what I think you described for certain franchises, right, that lower their price over time. You usually see that with games that have annual releases. You usually see that in games that have a very strong launch and then it kind of peters out. So Nintendo's a little bit different in that sense. Video games is all we do, so the company has to, as far as paying for the development, and so has to figure out how to be sustainable. But what we see is that our games, the company invests a lot in each one of our games, and what we see is that they have very, very long tails, is what we call it, because you have the launch, and then they continue to sell. We look at Mario Kart 8, it continues to be one of our top sellers. We have Tears of the Kingdom, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, but also Breath of the Wild, and they continue to sell like crazy. So it is a little bit of a different equation that we have, but I do want to tell you that we're always conscious and always looking at the costs of the products.
I see. Yeah, I understand. It's for me as a consumer, I would really love to have more options, and we are seeing the progress. Like the physical media, we can see that the prices are getting lower with the partners putting coupons and stuff like this.
Yeah.
This helps.
Questão da nuvem, né?
But it would be great to see like these older games getting a price cut for us to, enjoy more games. But I hope that we can get to that point someday, maybe, if Nintendo goes really well here in Brazil. And about that, I can feel like with the interest in people that are watching me and searching for Nintendo and they find my channel, I can see that it's growing, right? How is Brazil in the Nintendo plans going to Latin America? Do you see us like a special place? Because we're the only ones that speak a different language here in Latin America, and we're gonna get to that point, the translation point in a little bit. But as a business, do you take decisions based only in Brazil, or is always Latin America? You're always thinking about Latin America.
Well, I'll start by addressing the first part of the question that you asked, and I'd expand it to say that Latin America for Nintendo is a priority market. We see it as
mercado prioritário, isso é importante.
An emerging market that has a lot of potential. We see it in our sales. We continue to grow. As I mentioned earlier, year 7, it's been our biggest year. Last year was our biggest year, and now this year we're surpassing last year. So it's
Latin America too.
Tá crescente as vendas.
Latin America. What's unique about Brazil is it's got the strongest growth of all the countries in Latin America. Right? Again, catching up. So by itself as a market, it's an important market, and it's still a growing market. So we see a lot of potential there. That's the part.
Na América Latina, o Brasil é o que mais cresce as vendas.
Latin America, how we see it. Now, Brazil, again, high priority. You got Mexico and Brazil. Each of them are roughly the same size, depending on what market study you see.
Wow.
And in Mexico, we have just over 40% market share. We aspire to get to that level here in Brazil, but we also recognize...
Can you share what is the market share of Nintendo in Brazil compared to other...
There's information out there, you can find it, but it's roughly you'd say about 15% is what we're running right now. But our aspiration
15%, o México tem 40%, então deu a mais.
So, again, that really just underscores the point I was mentioning earlier. We recognize that we have a long ways to go. There's a lot of opportunity, so Brazil is very much a focused market. Latin America is, but Brazil in particular, because of all the opportunity that still exists there.
I see. And do you see other Nintendo products in these opportunities? For example, we're missing still many products.
Sure.
You have My Nintendo here, but we don't have the Nintendo 64 controllers or Nintendo Switch Online members, and we also have Nintendo Switch Online in Brazil. We don't have Amiibos. We don't have many of the products that are in the Mexican markets too, even. How do you see those products in Brazil? Is that like in your short-term plans or maybe not in a few years?
I would say it's in our longer term plans.
De longo prazo. Então não tem prioridade para dar suporte ao My Nintendo.
But it will take some time.
Por questão de logística, cara, que a própria Nintendo faz distribuição.
I know it's not fast enough for the fans, right? But we're working on it.
You know, for us, it seems like Brazil is such a difficult country because we're still missing many of these products.
Yeah.
What are the specific challenges that you face here in Brazil that, you know, impedes you to bring these things to us?
Listen, I love Brazil. So much opportunity, but it is unique and it presents unique challenges. We talk a lot about one of them being the language. It has its own set of rules and regulations and taxes. So all of these things create different challenges, right? And we're ramping up our resources to work through those. So I think it's just a matter of time. Long term, we want to get Brazil operating just like we're in Mexico.
Would you say that in 5 to 10 years? How do you see the Brazilian market in 5 to 10 years?
I see it as continuing to grow. I see it as an interesting, important market long term.
Equal to United States, for example?
Well, there you're stretching a fair amount. I mean, if you compare the size of the market, it's much bigger. I think that for now.
In offerings.
Não dá por conta da economia do país, cara, é foda.
I understand. That is the goal. Now, will we get there on every one of those items? Depending on the item, it'll present some challenges. But as I've told you before, we're going step by step. You know, if we go back to 2018, we were out of the market, we came in, digital content, then we came in, 3 years
deu
ago,
passo
right?
bom, cara, de 2018 pra cá. Não tem reclamação, mas não dá pra se negar que não foi bom passo que a Nintendo já deu no Brasil aqui, cara.
Thank you so much for being this open with us. Now we need to get to the tough part, which is the localization.
A localização,
it's the number one priority for us fans. It's the number one thing, I'm sure you know. People are asking social media and everything. You see all of that, right?
Oh, I see it. You know, it's interesting because, yes, if a game launches and it's not in Brazilian Portuguese, we hear about it, right, in social media.
E vai continuar ouvindo, cara.
When we do have a game that is in Brazilian Portuguese, such as, right, we have Super Mario Brothers Wonder coming in Brazilian Portuguese. It's really nice to see the positive comments, right, and the appreciation that the
Isso é importante também.
Express. So I do think that they're balanced, very demanding, but I think it's justified. I think it's fair.
How does Nintendo chooses which games get localized and which games doesn't? Because even in October now, we have Mario Wonder coming fully translated, the text and voice. But then we have Detective Pikachu, which seems like it's a more simple game, and it's not in Portuguese. How does Nintendo choose which games?
Que é da Pokémon Company, né, cara?
There's a list of factors, right? Part of it has to do with how critical is it for a game. A big one is the workload and our abilities or capabilities. As I've mentioned to you before, we're still ramping up our internal capabilities of localizing. It doesn't happen
A equipe é pequena ainda.
And you know that we're perfectionists, right? What our developers demand. So unless they really know that they can do it and do it right, they won't do it. I do think it's a temporary thing. We're seeing more and more games being localized. It's a matter of time for us to ramp up and be able to deal with all the games. My vision long term is that all the games will be localized. That's the dream, that's the goal, that's the aspiration.
Here's a tough one, because everyone gets really upset about when we see an update of language update for a game.
Boa, Coelho! E aí, cara? Vai te enrolar?
Portuguese. I'd like to know why, and if fans could maybe hope for a Zelda game in Portuguese.
So I don't know if you're referring to like if there's a patch that adds a language. Usually what that is it's been part of the development process and maybe it wasn't ready to go until the very end. But it's very seldom, I don't know of any situations where they'll go up and open up
Tá dando migué, que não foi o que tu falou.
And add a language. I mean, I'm oversharing here, but what usually will happen is a game, you'll have a whole team that works intensely on a game, but then once that game launches, very quickly that team's already focused on another project. So your ability to reopen another game, an old game, right? Those resources aren't there to deal with all the intricacies of localizing a game, everything that has to happen. So you won't really see that very often. Right. As far as a Zelda game, yeah, it's my dream as well. I mean, I can't tell you when it's going to happen, but I would place a bet that it will happen. The question is, okay, when? I just don't know. But I do dream about
Isso que é foda, cara.
I do have one last question.
Yeah.
Fans really want to buy Nintendo swag in Brazil. When is Nintendo bringing a Nintendo store, physical one, so we can buy T-shirts, we can buy physical games and...
That's so funny. I saw somebody wearing a Nintendo New York shirt today, and I'm like, and I told my team, you know what I want to see?
Right?
Sao Paulo or Rio on that shirt. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, you see a few of those. I think that's more of a longer term objective.
Yeah, loja física não é.
All right. Well, thank you so much
for
sharing all of these things to us
cara.
and for the community. We really count on Nintendo. We are big fans, and I'm sure you have many difficult things to deal with. But thanks for being here with us and being the biggest booth in Brazil Game Show. That means a lot. So.
Well, I think it points to the progress that we're making here in Brazil, but we really appreciate you being here, and we appreciate all the support and all the love we get from the fans, so thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right.
Meus amiguinhos, deixa eu pausar o vídeo aqui, cara, na última imagem. Cara, é o que a gente já vem conversando aí há um tempo, né, cara? Eu tava falando ali, não dá pra negar, cara, a Nintendo... Por exemplo, a Nintendo na BGS, enquanto o Sony e Microsoft não estão aí, cara. Analisar caso a caso, a gente sabe que o suporte da Microsoft e Sony vem a longo prazo aí, cara. Todos os jogos já estão localizados e a prioridade pra nós é a localização dos jogos aí também, né, cara? Só que, cara, também tem que haver a conquista do público. E para se fazer isso, elas têm que se estar presente cada vez mais nos eventos. Isso aqui é extremamente importante, cara. A Nintendo da BGS é extremamente importante pro público geral. Nem todo mundo tá afinco na internet aí, cara. Pesquisando tudo relacionado a games, entendeu? É importante ela tá aí. Só que, ainda assim, cara, mais em relação à tradução aí que ele deu um miguezinho de novo, ele não quis cravar a resposta ali, né? Mas é que tem essa barreira também de ter uma equipe especializada para fazer isso. Provavelmente a equipe brasileira ainda é muito pequena para tancar todos os lançamentos. E, cara, a gente sabe que das três principais, vamos dizer assim, a Nintendo é que lança mais jogos exclusivos, cara. Então é difícil para tancar tudo e eles têm que botar prioridade, né? O meu questionamento da outra vez, cara, da outra entrevista que ele deu pro Coelho, foi que ele falou que não mexeria, né, em jogos já lançados e acabou mexendo. Ali ele deu a explicação de que já estava, pelo que eu entendi, né, já estava no projeto entrar esse idioma e com o tempo saiu, né? É aceitável, mas ele falou de forma errada então da outra entrevista aí, cara. Gostei demais em relação ao que ele falou ali. O objetivo deles é ter o mesmo nível do México. O México é um país que já recebe todos os jogos localizados de forma day one ali, né? Todos os lançamentos da Nintendo são localizados para a língua mexicana aí. E em relação à distribuição de mídia física, eu acho que esse é o objetivo da Nintendo principal. Acho que quando a Nintendo se estabilizar aí, lançando as mídias físicas localizado, acredito que ele vai começar a trabalhar aí em trazer loja física da Nintendo nas cidades aí para poder vender, trazer uma Nintendo aí, né, cara? Cara, de novo, eu tô feliz que tá acontecendo, que a Nintendo tá dando seus passos aí, cada vez mais dando suporte ao brasileiro, dando presente nos eventos importantes para nós aí. Só que não é um caminho, cara, e ela vai fazer de acordo com como vai dando retorno. O Brasil tá dando retorno. Vimos ali que o México detém da Latam 40% do market share, né, que é a venda bruta ali, e o Brasil 15% ou 14%, se eu não me engano, né. É um bom número em relação aos outros países aí, né, cara. Mas tem que crescer mais, e para crescer tem que vender, só que a Nintendo também tem que fazer mais, trazer mais jogos localizados para ter acessibilidade, fazer mais promoções que ela tá fazendo junto com a nuvem aí, principalmente, né, em trazer cupons exclusivos, descontos exclusivos para nós, para nossa realidade aí. Cara, é um ciclo, uma coisa tem que ir alimentando a outra, cara, a rodinha tem que se manter girando, e é o que tá acontecendo, talvez não na mesma velocidade que a gente queria que estivesse acontecendo as coisas, não é na mesma velocidade, mas está acontecendo, e eu acredito que ao longo prazo, que nem ele falou, a gente acaba aí recebendo o mesmo suporte que Estados Unidos, Japão e etc. aí, ou pelo menos na equivalência em relação à localização de jogos e mídia física com Sony e Microsoft, que nem é hoje aí. Beleza, amigos, não vou estender muito, cara, mas foi boa a entrevista, cara. O Coelho me mandou muito bem aí, um grande abraço pro Coelho aí, nos representando, fez as perguntas certeiras, e o nosso Bill Van Zyll aí deu uma reboladinha. Beleza, amigos, esquece de se inscrever no canal, cara, CovardeX aí, cara, o que acharam desse react aí, cara? Deixa nos comentários aí, e o que vocês acharam da entrevista também aí, cara, eu quero conversar com vocês aí nos comentários. Então lembrando, não esquece de deixar o like, se inscreva no canal, e compartilhe com seus amigos aí, pra ajudar no crescimento aqui do canal. Beleza, amigos? Vou indo nessa, aquele grande abraço e fui! Feitoria, falou!